Hello friends! This yoga class is created to release a muscle called the piriformis. It is a muscle that sits right on the sciatic nerve, or the sciatic nerve sometimes even goes through there, and the sciatic nerve supplies your legs. So some people have difficulties with sitting, or there's a shooting pain down the leg, which can be caused by this tightness or contraction of this muscle. So let's release this one. You may need some blocks, especially if you have tighter hips, a blanket, and then I have this squishy ball here. It could also be a tennis ball. It's also a nice size, which we use at the end to massage this particular muscle. So here we go. We'll start right in Vajrasana, which is the pose we are pretty much, or I am already in, sitting on your heels. If you have knee issues or just tight hips, sometimes it's hard to sit on the heels. You can put a blanket underneath or in between your calves and your hamstrings, and then rest your hands on your thighs. You don't need a blanket, just sit straight on your heels. Rest your hands on your thighs and just look straight forward, and then slowly start to deepen your breath. You may want to utilize your Ujjayi breath so you can listen to your breath with more ease. And also your breath is much longer when you constrict the back of the throat slightly. So the air channel becomes smaller. And you make the sound, some people say, like the sound of the ocean. One more deep breath. And from here, make your way to all fours. Place your hands a little wider than your shoulder width apart. Your toes are curled under and your knees are hip width apart. Then visualize a block in between your shins and press your shins towards the midline so you feel some tone in your inner thighs. Keep that with your toes curled under. Lift your hips now up. Keep your knees slightly bent at first and the heels lifted, and push your chest towards your knees. Lift your sitting bones as high up as you can. Keep squeezing your shins towards each other so your inner thighs stay toned. And then again, see if you can move your heart a little closer towards your knees. And then maybe eventually, without losing the curve in your lower back, you might be able to get your legs straighter. Maybe even the heels closer to the floor. But if that leads to rounding in the lumbar spine, keep the heels lifted and your knees slightly bent. Then look up in between your hands and walk your way forward. If reaching the floor is difficult, you can grab your blocks and let the floor come to you. And I'll show the version with the block here for now. Take a deep breath in, look up halfway. And as you exhale, bow forward. One more time, straighten your arms, look forward. And as you exhale, round, bow more forward. Then bring your hands to your hips. Keep pulling your shins towards each other. And inhale, come on all the way up to standing. Keep the tone of your inner thighs and just lightly place your fingertips on the front of your top of your thighs. So my inner thighs are toned right now. You take a deep breath in. Exhale. With your next inhalation, move your thighs away from your hands so there's no actual space between your hands and your thighs. So this again will move your femur bones more into the hip sockets, which is important. We call this rooting your thighs back. Nice. So if you would only do this, or if you just do this, you can stand here for a moment. You may notice that there is some compression in the lumbar spine. So to release that, keep your femur bones where they're at back here, but then you lengthen your tailbone down towards the floor and start to lift your lower belly. This will add the necessary length in your lumbar spine to lose the compression, yeah, but not losing the curve. This is what we will play with today. So one more time, release for a moment. Squeeze your shins towards each other so your inner thighs are toned. Move the top of your thighs towards the space behind you. And you really want to feel that your bones are moving. Then there's more curve in your low back. Maintain the curve. Keep your femur bones exactly where they at, but then move your tailbone towards the pubic bone and lift your low belly to create length and tone. Then inhale, reach your arms up over your head. And as you exhale, bow forward and lower the hands down to the floor or the blocks. Step your right leg back and lower the knee down to the floor. Place both hands onto your front knee. And then move your right hand back to the top of your right thigh only this time. Tone your inner thighs. Move the top of your right thigh towards the space behind you. Now we have curve. Keep the top of the thigh back. Move the tip of the tailbone towards the front and lift your low belly. Maintain this tone. Then reach your right arm up over your head. Now keep all these actions and then bend your front knee more. Engage your inner thighs again. Move the top of your right thigh back in particular. And then move your tailbone forward and lift your low belly. Maybe bend back a little bit. Most of the time when the piriformis got tight, I noticed out of my own experience in my own body and with my students that releasing the hip flexor, especially the psoas muscle first, will have greater and more lasting results. So right now we're stretching the hip flexors first. Then lower the hand down to the floor. Simply step forward and take your left leg back. Lower down your knee. If you have knee issues, you can just as you go, it hurts being on the floor. You could put a blanket underneath your kneecap, that's fine too. Right hand onto your knee, left hand onto the top of your left femur bone. Take a deep breath in. Engage your inner thighs. Move the top of your left femur bone towards the space behind you. Keep it there, don't move that part. As you exhale, move your tailbone forward, lift your low belly up, keep this all toned, and then reach your left arm up towards the sky. And the key is to maintain all these actions at the same time. That'll make it difficult, at least in the beginning. Good. With your following exhalation, just start to bend your right knee now more. So now your whole body is moving forward, but the action is still moving the top of your left thigh back and still lifting the low belly. There may be a little bit of a back bend. You can look up towards the ceiling. Come on back to neutral. Lower both hands down to the floor, step forward, do standing forward fold. Look up halfway on an inhalation. As you exhale, bow. One more time. And bow. Next inhale, come on up to standing, reach your arms up, palms face each other. On an exhalation, lower your arms down to the side. Inhale, arms up. Exhale. Lower your hands down. So, now step your right leg back again. And this time, again, if this might be difficult, you can have your hands on the blocks. It's always an option. If you can't reach the floor, you do the same action in high lunge. So the back leg here is fully extended. This will take quite some strength. And so you should really feel your quads of your right leg working, then you know that your back leg is straight. Good. So right then, maybe you keep your hands on the blocks, or see if it's actually possible to bring your hands onto your hips. Good. So again, squeeze your shins towards each other to tone your inner thigh. Move the top of your right femur back. More curve here. Keep that action. Move your tailbone forward. Lift your low belly. Then reach your right arm up over your head. Then again, you maintain all the action and see if you can sit down a little bit deeper and try to keep your torso vertical at least. That's your intention. Lower the hands back down to the blocks or the floor and step forward. Take your left leg back. And create a big, long stance. This way you have a greater chance to really open up your hip flexors, release your hip flexors with this longer stance. Hug your shins towards each other, inner thighs tone. Move the top of your left thigh back. Maintain the action of rooting the thigh back, and then balance this action out by moving your tip of your tailbone towards the front, lifting your low belly, and then maybe you can bring your hands to the hips. Maybe you can get your left arm up. Again, maintaining all the action, and you start bending your front knee more. This will increase the stretch of your left hip flexors. Both hands back down to the blocks or floor. Step forward. On an inhale, come on up to standing. Move too fast. Okay, so now come to the center of your mat. Side angle pose, another wonderful pose to release the hip flexors. Here we go. So come into a wide stand, meaning that your wrist and your ankles are right on top of each other. Then bring your hands back to your hips again. Take a deep breath in. Pull your shins towards each other. You can really even test, are these adductors even toned? Mine are. Then you can turn your left foot out. Bend it slightly. Shift your awareness to your right leg. Here you can do the same thing with the hand again. You can place your hand onto the top of your right femur bone and then move the top of the thigh back with toned inner thighs. That's the key part here. So you move it back until you can see that your quads are in line with the front of your ankle. And then keep looking at this back leg. So this is not changing. Wait for your exhale now to move your tailbone towards the front. So again, to create the length in your lumbar spine. Lift your low belly up, and now you can bend your front knee more. Rest your forearm on your front thigh. Then reach your right arm past your ear towards the side of this room. Towards your left. Nice. Shift your awareness back to your right leg. Move the top of the right femur towards the space behind you. Use your muscles to keep your bone in that position. At the same time, scoop your front hip more under. Lift your low belly. Open up a little bit more. Maybe you can look up towards the ceiling past your arm. On an inhale, come on back up. Turn this foot in. Second side. Pull your feet towards each other. Good, the inner thighs are strong. Now turn your right foot out. Shift your awareness to your back leg. Place your left hand onto the top of your femur bone. You're not touching the bone, it's just the area there, of course. And then move the top of your thigh back. Check again, quad in line with the front of the ankle. Keep that. Move your tailbone forward. Low belly tones. Anything below the belly button should be toned and maintain this tone. Then bend your front knee more. Forearm onto your front thigh. Then reach your left arm towards the right side of your room. Shift your awareness to your back leg again. Thigh back. Then scoop your front hip under. Maybe now you can open up the posture more. So it's not just the outer shape that will stretch muscles. It's really more about the balanced action within the posture that will make or give you lasting results in creating balance in your body again. Then lower both hands down to the floor. Step back to all fours. Next pose is called Virasana. It's a quad stretch. In this quad stretch, you want to have your knees as wide as your hips apart from each other, and your feet go straight back. Then use your hands to split your calf muscles as you sit back. Then I'm pulling my hands out one at a time so that my outer hips will touch my inner heels. And you can see that my feet again go straight back. They're not turning in nor out because that would bring pressure onto the knee. If your quads are tighter, you might not be able to touch the floor. You just elevate the floor, sitting on one block, sometimes two blocks, how many ever you need. Yeah, so make sure you adjust the asana pose to your needs, not the other way around. So you continuously click the toenails into the floor. Same actions apply. You move your inner shins towards each other to tone the inner thighs. Rooting the femur bones back here will mostly result, or you feel it mostly as arching in the low back. So the femurs can go far back. You're sitting on them. And then here also lift your low belly. This is a pose where you build up the ability to sit longer over time. So in the beginning, you can sit here for just 30 seconds, and then you need to come out, which is fine. Later on, you might be able to sit there for longer. So please listen to your body's needs. When you're ready to come out of this posture, you can come to all fours, and then just wait there for a moment. Okay, let's all meet in all fours now. So you tuck your toes under again. Let the palms come back down to the floor, straight arms. Some tone into your legs, make them nice and firm, and then again press back to downward facing dog with your heels lifted. Sitting bones up high and move your heart towards your knees. Maybe you can straighten your legs a little more. Come on down to your knees again. So now we're going to do the pigeon pose with a block underneath your shins. So now we literally get into the area of the piriformis. Stretch this muscle. So the block is right underneath your shin. Get this out of the way here. Good, so that you can push the little toe side of your foot, mostly here it's just the pinky toe, into the floor. This will protect your knee joint. Because we want to stretch the hip muscles and not loosen our knee joint. Keep the fingertips on the floor, your back toes curled under. Guess what? Same principles apply. You tone your inner thighs, push your right knee strongly into the floor so that the top of your right thigh can move back. Keep that, and then strongly move your tailbone forward and really lift your low belly up away from the floor a lot. And then you can walk your hands over towards your left knee. And for some of you, this is your version of the day, so you stay here. If your body allows, so again, listen to the sensations of your body as feedback. You might be able to let the forearm come down to the floor. Especially your back leg, that heel wants to drop to the outside, so remind yourself to keep pushing the right shin towards the midline. And come on back out. You can keep the block here right away for the second leg and come to all fours. So, right foot on top of the, or shin on top of the block. Little pinky toe side pushes into the floor. Again, this will just protect your knee joints, so the knee joint is stable, so we can bring more mobility into the hip. So curl your toes under your back leg. Hug your shins towards each other. Move the top of your left femur bone back. Move the tip of the tailbone forward and lift your low belly. Walk your hands over towards the right knee. And again, as on this first side, this might be your pose, or some of you might be able to get the forearm down towards the floor. Make sure that your back leg also stays very strong and firm. Make your way back out. Now we can remove the block and sit in Vajrasana. Remember, you have the option with the blanket from the very first posture we did. Next pose is the Agni Stambhasana, the fire log. Place your right foot down to the floor so that the little toe side touches the floor. Place your right foot on top of your left thigh so that your shins are sagging on top of each other. Place your hands slightly behind you so you're leaning back a little bit. First, protect the knee joint. You pull the little toe side back and drag the heels towards you. This will tone your hamstrings. Now again, create curve in your lumbar spine first. Maintain the curve and then add the length by moving your tailbone towards your pubic bone and lift the low belly. So now again, remind yourself to maintain these actions. You can make like a little checklist. Hamstrings, okay, curve, got it, length, got it. And then slowly tilt at your hip joints to come more forward. For some of you, this will be the version of the day. Yeah, so you might already feel like a big stretch here on your outer hip rotators, piriformis, and please stay here. You should be able to smile, and you should be able to breathe. If your smile and your breath allows, with tone and action in your body, you may have to bow forward more in order to feel stretch. So don't hold back either. Yeah, so again, the outer shape will have to adjust to what's happening within your body. Slowly come on partially out of this pose. Reach your right arm up. Unplug your right hip for a moment. So you can either place your forearm into your sole of the foot or the elbow. And then let that sitting bone come back down to the earth and twist your torso more over towards your left. And on an inhalation, come on back out. Undo your legs. Switch sides. Left foot down, right foot down first, left foot on top. Place your hands behind you and push the little toe side of your feet into the floor and drag your heel backwards for heels. Arch your low back. Create more length by toning your pelvic floor and low belly. And then again, listen to your breath. And again, the quality of your face will tell you a lot too, if bowing forward is necessary in order to find the maximum stretch, or if you're already happy up here. Then come on back out. Let the left hip come off the floor. Place your left forearm into the sole of the foot or the left elbow. And again, you root your thigh back. Scoop your tailbone and let the left sitting bone come back down to the floor. Take a deep breath in, make your spine longer, and then exhale, twist to the right. With your next inhalation, come on back out. So the next posture will be Garudasana, which is completely wrong, Gomukhasana. In Gomukhasana, you want to have your right leg down and a pretty steep angle here in your knee joint, so you can almost point your foot a little bit but keep your toes spread. And then you take your left leg on top and move your foot towards your right hip, and you try to align your knees as best as you can on top of each other. So if you have tighter hips, your Gomukhasana, the cow face, will look like this, where the knees are still a little bit further apart from each other. Yeah, and then you gotta listen to what your body is capable of doing. Eventually, you reach for a picture where your kneecaps are right on top of each other. Yeah? So now I can already feel a good stretch here on my outer hips. If you have pretty long outer hip rotator muscles, you may even need to move your feet more towards the front, yeah, so that you create almost like a straight line from one shin to the other in order to feel a stretch here in the outer hips. Yeah, so I'm gonna be somewhere in the middle here. And if you're like super tight, yeah, so the outer hip rotator muscles are tighter even here, then you can even extend the bottom leg. So these are all your options. Choose one. We all do the same actions though. So here, push the little toe set of your feet strongly into the floor. Take a deep breath in and lift your chest. Then arch your low back. Again, you want to create a curve in your lumbar spine and bring some tone into the muscles below your belly button. Good. Notice how this left sitting bone naturally wants to be a little bit lighter simply because of the outer shape. So bring more emphasis on scooping your tailbone and getting the left sitting bone more down to the floor so they're both even. Then bow forward. You can place your hands out in front of you. And again, for some of you, bowing forward may simply look like this. Yeah, so but your hip is already in a 90-degree flexion. Right, you're just sitting, so it feels not that way. But as you bow forward, you lead with the center of your heart, bringing that towards the knee so your thoracic spine does not round too much. Until you feel a nice stretch here on your outer hips. On your next inhalation, tone your muscles of your legs, especially your low belly, and wait for your inhale to lift your torso up. Good. Let's do this on the other side. Left leg is down, right leg comes across. Again, all these different versions. Find yours, a version that aligns with the needs of your body. Good. Ooh, this side is a lot tighter. Place your hands right next to you. Push the little toe side into the floor and create a curve in your lumbar spine. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, pull your navel towards the spine so the muscles below your belly button are toned, and keep them that way. Inhale, retone your leg muscles. And as you exhale, bow forward, tilting at your hips. You can also, when you exhale, remind yourself to scoop your tailbone and make your right sitting bone heavier. Sometimes I even like to push a little bit on the floor here to help myself to keep the sitting bone down, especially if the hips are a bit tight. On an inhale, retone your leg muscles, pull your navel back towards your spine, and with your following inhalation, slowly lift your torso and extend your legs. So, now let's do the little release here with our called tune-up ball, or again, tennis ball will be fine too. Remember the position of this muscle, yeah, so it's right here in the center of your butt cheek. And you're going to place the ball here, especially if it is, say, a tender area of your body right now. Don't put your body weight on there all the way right away. So you push your feet into the floor, your hands into the floor to create a little bit of a lift. And then slowly start to move your buttocks over the ball and add some weight. And again, if there's some tightness going on, then you will feel this like sweet spot where it feels like really, really intense, and then let your weight sink onto this place. You need to be able to breathe long and even the entire time. So you know again that this little massage is still nurturing. If your breath gets stuck, just take a little bit of weight off by lifting your body up slightly. So here you can maybe stop the video and do this for as long as you need to. I would always suggest to do both sides, even maybe if it's just one side is tight. So I'm going to show the other side now. You could also do that leaning against the wall. Like you'd stand up and have the ball rolling against the wall. It's not as intense because there's not as much body weight on the ball. Maybe check in with your body, so like, oh, where does it need to go? How much do I need to move back and forth, side to side? Or just stay at a certain place and add more or less body weight. And then release. Take this thing out of the way. Lay on your back. Cross your left leg over the right. Shift your hips slightly over towards the left and lower both knees down over towards the left. Left arm comes to the side here. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, see if you can get your left shoulder closer to the floor. Then pull your knees a little bit up higher towards your right elbow. So it's a deeper flexion in your hip joint here. Place your right hand onto your knee. Left knee. Again, take a deep breath in and tone your leg muscles and create a curve in your lumbar spine. As you exhale, you scoop your tailbone forward and lift your low belly. Same. And then maintaining again all these actions, slowly start to move your knees more over towards your right. And then create more space from your shoulder, left shoulder to your left hip, by moving your left hip away from your own shoulder, like this way. Straight back to create more length here in this side body. And as you inhale, come on back towards the center. Shift your hips to the center. Cross your right leg over the left leg and shift your hips over towards your right. Move the knees closer towards your elbows. And then move them over to the left, and here I'm supporting my knees with my feet. Left hand onto the right knee, right arm to the right. Palm is open here. Makes it easier for your shoulders to be aligned better. So take a deep breath in, expand your rib cage. And as you exhale, lower down your right shoulder towards the floor, even if that means that your knees have to come up a little bit. Here, I want you to have the shoulder completely connected to the earth. Then inhale again, legs strong and curve in your low back. And as you exhale, you add the tailbone action and the strong low belly. Now keep all this again. Now start moving your knees closer towards the earth. Then again, move your right hip away from your right shoulder to lengthen your right side body. With your following inhalation, come on back towards the center and cross hips back towards the center. And then pull your knees towards your chest, wrap your arms around your knees, give yourself a good hug. All the good work you did. And then extend your legs. Now it's important to rest. The legs a little wider than your hip width apart, feet can roll out, palms are open. Take one more deep breath in to expand your chest and get your shoulder blades a little bit more under, so closer towards the spine. And then as you exhale, completely relax and see if you can relax every single muscle, every single cell in your entire body. Shavasana is a conscious relaxation pose. So here you get to develop the skill to observe the present moment as is, without the need to change anything, without the need to figure out, interpret everything, to just watch. So please enjoy.